My name is Olivia Bennett, and for most of my life, I believed I knew exactly who I was. I grew up in a large white house at the edge of the city, a place that looked perfect from the outside and even more controlled on the inside. Everything followed a quiet, almost calculated order. The floors were always polished to the point that they reflected light like mirrors. The windows were tall and spotless, and the silence inside the house felt intentional, as if emotions themselves were carefully managed and kept under control. My father was a respected businessman, known for his discipline, his authority, and his ability to build a life based on structure and success. My mother was elegance in its purest form, always perfectly dressed, always composed, always calm, but never truly emotionally present. She fulfilled every visible responsibility, yet there was a quiet distance between us that never disappeared, a space that I learned to accept without ever fully understanding. From the outside, we looked like a complete family, but inside, something essential always felt slightly out of reach. There was always someone else in the house, someone who existed within that space but did not belong to its image. Her name was Maria, and she had been there for as long as I could remember. She worked as our housemaid, moving through the rooms with a quiet efficiency that made her presence almost invisible. She cleaned, cooked, organized, and repaired things before anyone even noticed they were broken. Her routine never changed, and her appearance was always simple, modest, and neat. She rarely spoke unless someone addressed her directly, and when she did, her voice carried a softness that contrasted with the emotional distance of the rest of the house. As a child, I never questioned her role. To me, she was simply part of the environment, like the furniture or the walls, always there, always reliable, but never someone I stopped to truly understand. Every morning before school, she brought me breakfast and placed it carefully in front of me with the same consistent attention. Sometimes, beside my plate, there would be a small folded napkin with a handwritten message wishing me luck. The words were simple, but they carried a warmth I didn't recognize at the time. I never asked why she did it, and I never thought about what it meant. I assumed it was part of her responsibilities, something included in the role she played in our home. My mother never paid attention to such small details. She was focused on maintaining appearances, attending social events, and preserving the image of a perfect life. My father was almost always at work, leaving early and returning late, his presence in the house more symbolic than real. The house was always full, yet it carried a quiet emptiness that I only began to understand much later. Whenever something went wrong, Maria was always the first to respond. If I fell in the garden and hurt myself, she was the one who rushed toward me without hesitation. If I returned home from school feeling overwhelmed or upset, she was the one who noticed, even when I tried to hide it. She never forced me to explain what I was feeling, but she stayed close, offering comfort in a quiet and steady way. One winter night remains clear in my memory. I was 8 years old, and a violent storm had taken over the sky. Thunder echoed through the house, and flashes of lightning filled my room with sudden light. Fear pushed me into the hallway as I called for my mother, but her door remained closed, and soft music played inside, as if the world outside did not exist. Before I could decide what to do, Maria appeared, wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, and guided me back to bed. She stayed beside me, humming a soft melody until the storm passed, and that melody stayed with me for years without me ever understanding why it felt so comforting. As I grew older, I began to notice differences between my life and the lives of others. My friends spoke about closeness with their families, about shared laughter, emotional support, and the simple comfort of being understood. In my home, everything felt structured, controlled, and emotionally distant. My mother focused on discipline, presentation, and expectations, ensuring that I succeeded in every visible way, while my father measured everything in results and achievements. I adapted to that environment, convincing myself that this was simply another version of love. Meanwhile, Maria remained constant. She attended my school events, always standing in the background, never stepping forward, never drawing attention, yet always watching me with a quiet intensity that I never questioned at the time. On my 16th birthday, she gave me a small silver bracelet. It was simple, delicate, and completely different from the expensive gifts my parents gave me. Yet, for reasons I could not explain, it became the most meaningful object I owned. I wore it every day. When I thanked her, she held my hand slightly longer than expected, and for a brief moment, her eyes revealed an emotion I couldn't identify. It wasn't just kindness. It wasn't just care. It was something deeper, something that felt almost like pride mixed with restraint. There were other moments too, small details that didn't seem important at the time. The way she reacted when family history was discussed, the way she quietly left the room when old photo albums were opened, the way her expression shifted when my father once mentioned that I didn't resemble anyone in our extended family. A glass slipped from her hands that day, shattering loudly against the floor, and although she apologized, her reaction felt stronger than the moment required. Years passed, and life continued along the path that had been set for me. I finished school, went to university, and built a future based on the identity I believed was mine. Everything felt stable, logical, and predictable. I never questioned my past, and I never doubted my place in the world. The idea that something so fundamental could be hidden from me never crossed my mind. I believed my story was complete. I believed there were no missing pieces. But the truth does not always reveal itself loudly. Sometimes it waits quietly, hidden in ordinary places, until a single moment changes everything. That moment came on an ordinary afternoon in the storage room at the back of the house. My mother had decided to renovate it, saying that old things carried unnecessary weight and that the future required space, not memories. I agreed to help, not out of curiosity, but out of routine. The room was filled with boxes, documents, and forgotten objects. Dust filled the air as I sorted through years of stored history. Maria worked beside me, handling fragile items with unusual care, as if she understood their importance more deeply than I did. At one point, my hand reached for a small wooden box hidden behind a stack of photographs. At the same time, Maria's hand moved toward it too, but she pulled back suddenly, as if stopping herself from doing something irreversible. I opened the box slowly and found hospital documents inside, neatly folded and tied together. My name was written clearly on the first page. At first, everything appeared normal. My date of birth, the time I was born, the hospital location. But then I noticed something unusual. The section labeled Mother had been covered with correction ink. Beneath it, faint letters were still visible, but they did not match my mother's name. A quiet tension formed inside me as I leaned closer, trying to read what had been hidden. Behind me, I heard something fall. I turned and saw Maria standing still, her face pale, her hands trembling slightly. That was the beginning of everything changing. Not all at once, not dramatically, but slowly and undeniably. The certainty I had carried for years began to crack. The identity I had never questioned began to feel unfamiliar. And deep inside, without fully understanding why, I knew that whatever truth was hidden in those documents would change everything I believed about my life, my family, and myself. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our upcoming content.